we could have very well been in there.
A half-mile path of destruction.
If we had, you could see there's probably nobody going to make it through anything like this.
A tornado destroys homes in Greenback, leaving residents picking up the pieces tonight. Complete team coverage right now on 6 News at 5. Good evening. Just into the 6 Newsroom, the National Weather Service confirming to 6 News that it was a tornado last night that left a handful of homes destroyed and about 24 others damaged in Greenback here on the Blount-Loudoun County line around highways 411 and 95. Now, 6 News has complete coverage of the destruction and some amazing stories of survival to share with you tonight. 6 News anchor Kristen Farley heads up our team coverage. She's live in Greenback at the heart of the damage.
Well, Gene, as you said, within just the last hour, they declared this was, in fact, a tornado that ripped through Greenback. But despite what that assessment showed, the damage here behind me, as you can see, simply undeniable tonight. Lots of homes and businesses had damage from this tornado that ripped through just before 10 o'clock last night. Now, we do want to show you some aerial footage from earlier today showing some of the homes that had roofs simply just ripped right off, cars tossed around like they were toys. Also, a body shop showing extensive damage. You can see some of this in the aerial pictures showing dozens of cars that were tossed, some of them nearly 100 yards away from where they were originally parked. Also, there's a company called Ultramarine Products. Several boats there were tossed out onto the edge of Highway 411. Pontoon boats also seen upside down. Of course, all of this again happening just before 10 o'clock last night. So when daylight arrived this morning, people here could really begin to assess the damage. One of the first people here on the scene was Good Morning Tennessee anchor Tirsa Smith. She gives us some of the first images of what the storm left behind.
The damage witnessed by people along Highway 411 in Blount County will be hard to forget.
There was power lines all over the road, cars in the road where people just drove through the tornado. Luckily, thank God that nobody got killed out there in that mess.
The steel-enforced building that once housed Terry Orr's family business is now a mangled mess. He says he doesn't know how to tackle something this big.
That's what my friends and family have been over here all day, and we don't know where to start. I don't know what happens, so we'll have to see.
To really show you the force of this storm as it rolled through last night, it took down huge trees like this one, twisting it and just pushing it over to the side. But if you look just across the street, there's a group of trees not even touched. Pastor David Cooper knows the feeling of being hit hard by the storm. His home was destroyed, while many of his neighbors' homes went untouched.
Of course, it's an emotional thing that you go through, but, I just look at it like, I know it's a devastation, but it could have been worse.
He was in Morristown with his wife officiating a funeral when he got the call about his house on Ashbrook Lane.
If you go look through the community is all torn apart and nobody's dead. And, so I just look at it as God had his hand upon people and God had his hand upon us.
Cooper says nothing much was saved from the destruction of his home.
Things can be replaced, and that life can't.
Again, just absolutely amazing that there were not any serious injuries here due to the tornado.
Folks want to know what's happening and that their loved ones are safe up here at this apartment complex that is just beyond Knoxville Center Mall, sits up on a hill. And joining me now is Captain Mark Wilbanks with the Knoxville Fire Department. And Mark, you just got an update, so tell us what's going on now.
Well, currently right now we're just working on the actual fire building itself. 30 units were involved, 29 of those units were occupied. We're working very closely with building management and the American Red Cross to make sure that everyone is actually out of the building and accounted for. So that's our process right now. Our firefighting operations are very, very labor intensive right now, just because of the bulk of the fire that we experienced on arrival. We've had some collapse. We're going to actually have to go in and start doing some digging out.
There's a couple of things that I want to know right off the bat, Captain, and we're hearing from folks that everyone is out safely. Is that true?
This is preliminarily what we're thinking right now. However, let me just say this. We do have one individual that we do not know for sure that has been accounted for yet. We're working very hard to make sure that that is accurate.
Okay, Red Cross is kind of letting you know they believe everyone's out.
That's correct. We're working very close with Red Cross and building management to actually call emergency contacts and make sure that if someone's not home, we know where they are.
Okay, Captain. Also, I have heard from folks coming down that 2 buildings have already collapsed. Any truth to that?
No, it's the one building. It's that one address building. However, that's a large building, 30 units. It looks large.
And you guys, this is a tough one to fight. Talk about that, how large it is and what you guys are doing.
When the crews originally arrived on scene, they already had heavy fire loads, so it was way ahead of them. They called for that initial second alarm assignment because they needed simply more manpower. This is a very labor-intensive operation for us, because it's up on top of a hill. We had to carry a lot of our water up there with us and with large hose. The other part of this is there's not a lot of parking and room for our apparatus to get in there and actually work, so we have to be very careful with our apparatus to not destroy it.
And before I let you go, Tirsa, I want to ask you, do you have any questions for the captain, because he is getting the very latest information here on the scene?
No, Erica, really a lot of the questions you've asked are the questions that people have been asking on our Facebook page. I guess the biggest thing I would ask is, how long does he think this is going to go on? It's a huge fire. It's been going for, what, almost 3 hours now. When do they project to put it out?
Absolutely. Started about 4 o'clock this morning.
That is correct.
It's been going on for a long time. We can still see the orange glow up there. They're asking, how long do you think it's going to take to get this under control?
Well, it's going to take hours to actually get the fire out. This is going to be an all-day operation for us. It's not going to be something that we can just simply put gallons of water on it. We're going to have to get in there and start doing some digging and moving to get all of those hot spots out all day long.
Captain, lots of people have been evacuated, not just in that building that collapsed that is on fire.
That's correct.
How dangerous is it up there right now?
It would be dangerous if you were in one of the buildings adjacent. Otherwise, if you live in one of the back apartments, you're very safe right now.
Okay, we're going to be checking back in with you. Thank you so much for giving us the various latest information. But for now, guys, we're going to send it back to you.
Tonight, fire investigators are trying to figure out what sparked this massive fire at Easttown Village Apartments in East Knoxville. The flames took one man's life and left dozens homeless.
Tonight, we have live team coverage of the deadly apartment fire. 6 News anchor Gene Patterson has been at the apartment complex now for hours.
He joins us now live with a survivor and a fire investigator. Gene.
Well, certainly it's a very eerie situation here, much different from just a few hours ago when firefighters were fighting desperately to put out the flames and keep it from spreading to the rest of the complex, and certainly much different from earlier this morning when dozens of families were escaping flames coming out of the buildings that used to stand behind me. Now, whether it was this morning, this afternoon, or tonight, there is still a big question lingering. Why? Late into the day, fire investigators were finally able to enter the scene. Earlier, the fire had been so hot no one could get close. And even with much of the fire knocked down, a track hoe was necessary at times to cool off the hotter areas. A preliminary check indicated to investigators where the fire started, but the bigger question is what caused it.
We do confirm that there was an explosion, and we have found a debris field, so we know that there was an explosion. We don't know at this time if that's cause or effect.
In other words, did the explosion cause the fire, or did the fire cause the explosion? Beeler says it could be next week before they're ready to report their findings, and even then it may be less than exact. How difficult will it be to pinpoint an exact cause in this fire?
It may be impossible. One like this, we may never know exactly what caused this fire.
30 units were destroyed in the flames. Among those displaced was Pamela Witt.
I lived in apartment 249, which was the second area right here.
Witt had been living here with her disabled husband since October. She says she's been on a roller coaster of emotions fueled by the loss of some very precious memories.
When I got out here, I realized the flames were jumping from the roof, and I thought, it's gone. It's gone. Everything's gone. And my mother just passed away 2 years ago, and I had everything that she had left me in the house. Everything was there. And that's what it is now.
Witt says despite her loss, she's ready to move on. She's already signed a new lease for another apartment in this complex. In fact, a number of people I spoke with who were displaced by this fire have already agreed to new leases in this complex. Also talked to a few people who were not impacted by this fire, but who said tomorrow, their first chore of business, they're going to go get some renter's insurance. Animal cruelty and abuse calls are on the rise around the region, and police don't have the resources to quickly investigate them, much less follow through on prosecution.
But a unique group in Blount County is now filling that gap. The Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, better known as SPCA, is saving lives, and they have the power to put animal abusers behind bars. Now, we want to warn you, the video you're about to see is graphic and it could be disturbing, especially to young children. You may want to ask them to leave the room right now. In tonight's special report, though, 6 News reporter Erica Estep introduces us to a couple of animal cruelty investigators who show us what it takes to build a criminal case and what happens to animals who survive.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Gino Bachman, a 27-year veteran federal drug enforcement agent, is still putting in countless hours investigating crimes and saving lives. but now he doesn't get a paycheck. Putting animal abusers behind bars and rescuing their victims is his reward.
Ooh, I know you want to come out. I know, we're going to get you out.
This day, Bachman finds a pit bull abandoned in an empty home after his owner's eviction. The Blount County Sheriff's Department backs him up as he makes a rescue.
Some of them are bad. Some of them aren't so bad. Some of them are not even cases. But the ones that we get, like this one, you know, it makes you feel good that you're actually doing something for the animals because they don't have any choice. They have to live with the circumstances that they're given.
Hey, guys. Bachman's wife, Kelly, also has a law enforcement background and volunteers to investigate cruelty cases.
The hardest part is not seeing any resolution. You take care of one abuse case and then you get another call, and it's worse than the first one.
Like this extreme animal hoarding case in Murrow, where they found more than 50 dead and starving dogs. They have thousands of pictures of abused and neglected animals.
Livestock are the most neglected as far as our laws are concerned because the only thing that's required for them is food and water.
Many pictures are too graphic to show. And this week we met a blind cat in need of immediate medical attention, but his owner didn't want to give him up.
I want you to surrender that cat to me and take care of it.
I can't do that. With no proof that the cat has been abused, it would be tough by law to take the animal. But after careful negotiation, which includes the threat of possible prosecution, the woman agreed to hand over the cat she called Boo Boo, if Bachman would also take a chicken. He agrees and rushes to the vet to find out if the cat can be saved.
I would think it's pretty uncomfortable as it is.
In my opinion, it was very bad. I mean, any animal that's not only blind, but has that avulsion and the pus seeping out of its eye sockets, that's bad.
The vet offers to operate free of charge and believes after he heals, Boo Boo can be put up for adoption.
The positive thing is seeing them removed from the circumstances that they're in and knowing they're not suffering anymore. It's just difficult knowing there's others out there that still are.
The Bachmans also have a 30-acre farm that serves as an orphanage of sorts for animals they rescue. Some are here on a temporary basis, others will stay, like the lab mix they once called Skinny Sandy.
We give animals a body score of 1 to 10, 10 being grossly obese, 1 being emaciated. She was a 0.5.
She was starving and had just given birth, but look at her now.
She was emaciated. She had just had 8 puppies. You could see her head was sunk in here because of the emaciation. You could see every rib, hip points, and she did this. She hugged me, and she would not let go in the vet's office.
They also have a couple of unusual cases here on their farm. Take this little guy, for instance. This miniature horse, his name is Sammy. I'm told just 4 months ago, he would have never allowed me to get this close and touch him. Now, he was taken care of in the traditional sense. He had plenty of food, plenty of water, even shelter, but I'm told he was kept in a stall about this size, and he never saw the outside for 5 years. It caused all kinds of problems. A fatty growth formed on Sammy's neck from a high-fat diet and no exercise, and his hooves were so deformed he could barely walk. There are dozens of similar stories here.
Thank goodness for time, because they were bad when we got them, but they're all loved now.
In Blount County, Erica Eastep, 6 News.
Now, the SPCA is made up of 4 investigators. 3 have full-time jobs, and as of last month, the group had 98 open investigations. The Blount County Sheriff's Department, Animal Control, and the University of Tennessee work closely with the SPCA. The volunteer group saves local law enforcement time and money by taking on the cases they may not have time to investigate, but they can't do it without help. So a group of animal lovers in Maryville set up a thrift store to help the SPCA and 3 other local animal charities. 4 Chicks and a Cat thrift store collects donations and serves as a meeting location for the SPCA. The star of the operation is a cat named Gabby, who was rescued from a dumpster. The SPCA tells 6 News the store has provided more resources to help more animals.
They're out there speaking for the animals who have no voice, and we need them desperately because there are so many animals out there that need their help, and they can't do it if they don't have the funds to do it.
Now, this store has only been open 10 months, and we've been told they've already donated nearly $11,000 to animal charities. By the way, we just got word right before our newscast today that the SPCA saved another 8 dogs today. To find out how you can help their rescue operations, go to our website, WATE.com, and look for the SPCA's wish list.
Violent weather stretches across the southeast in what is being called the worst tornado outbreak since 1974.
Now, Tennessee is right in the middle of it, with the death toll just rising now to more than 30 people.
7 of those deaths are in Greene County, and that is where 6 News anchor Kristen Farley is covering this story live for us tonight.
We are right here in Camp Creek, in the heart of all of the devastation here in Greene County. The death toll continuing to rise. Now 7 people confirmed dead in this area from the twister that moved through this area. Within just the past hour, the National Weather Service confirming to 6 News this was in fact an EF2 tornado that moved through this area. Take a look at some of the damage here behind me. I want to show you this barn. 24 hours ago, that was a standing, functioning barn here in Greene County. As we take a look up, you can see some of the tree damage here in this area, as well as some of the power line damage. You can see power lines down all across this community. In fact, not a lot of people being allowed in this area because of all of the damage. Now, the National Weather Service saying they look at things like this, like the down trees, like the power lines, to actually determine the strength of the tornado. They were telling me that the path of the tornado likely went this way through this community, but most of the damage is actually falling in this way. That's one of the indicators that this was in fact a tornado, an EF2 tornado, again declared here in Greene County. Now, what I am showing you behind me, this is really just a small glimpse of the damage here in this community.
Tonight, members of a healthcare clinic say they have been deceived. 5 months ago, the owner of a family practice in Knoxville claimed his patients would continue to receive care even though the doors to his office closed. Well, tonight, 6 News investigator Don Dare has new information about Direct Care and its president.
Knoxville's Direct Care claimed in its brochure here it was the answer to the health care crisis, featuring no deductibles, no co-payments, that the office is open 6 days a week. All that sounded good to a lot of people when the clinic opened last winter.
That guy, Peter Pan, movie 5.
Earl and Angela Jones enjoy a board game with their 3 children and 2 of their friends. The couple is typical of many young working families. Skyrocketing insurance premiums and out-of-pocket expenses forced the Joneses to seek alternative health care. When they heard about Knoxville's Direct Care in February and discovered its affordable services, it fit their needs perfectly.
No copay, paying just once a month. And then just having to pay for prescriptions outside of if needed was good financially for us. It just made sense.
The couple became members and paid a monthly premium of $198. They visited the West Knoxville Clinic once for blood work, but then things changed.
Seemed okay up until we saw the first segment you did. How about a cookie?
In April, we reported how Ashley Martinez had doubts about Direct Care and its president, Dr. Brian Reichman. She said he couldn't treat her at the clinic and took her to a separate facility. Mrs. Martinez wondered why she had to visit another doctor's office. At Women's Expo last winter, we asked Brian Reichman about his clinic.
You don't actually see patients yourself?
Not as a medical doctor or anything medical, but I do for hypnotherapy.
Within months of opening, Reichman's business was in financial trouble. At General Sessions Court in Knoxville, we discovered Reichman was $10,000 behind in his rent. By late April, Direct Care's office was closed. Reichman's landlord told us they had kicked him out. But at the time, Earl and Angela Jones were told a different story by Reichman.
He just assured us that that location was closing down. It didn't fit their needs anymore. Like he said, they were moving to Fort Sanders.
They say the move to Fort Sanders Medical Facility never happened. The couple said Brian Reichman would meet them at Prodigal Primary Care, or one of its affiliates. But then Prodigal's agreement with Reichman ended.
They informed me that they weren't taking his patients without payment up front. That's when I called him and spoke with him about it. And he said, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'll get with them.
The owner of Prodigal Primary Care, David Brickhouse, says he cut off his relationship with Direct Care patients because Reichman had not paid Prodigal as he had agreed to do.
Unfortunately, never received money from him for any of the visits.
David Brickhouse says his clinic cared for about a dozen Direct Care patients every month for 3 months. He says each time Reichman would escort patients to Prodigal.
Disrupting my clinic with him, interrupting the manager, bringing in a patient without any notification. We had scheduled patients, and then on top of that, not paying any of the bills. It got to a point where we decided to say enough's enough.
In August, Reichman sent a letter to the Joneses, canceling their membership because they paid with cash instead of a credit card. The letter also showed a new address for Direct Care. We went looking for Dr. Reichman to ask questions. However, he had been kicked out. The building's owner told 6 News Reichman rented a tiny office with a desk and phone, but his check had bounced. We found Reichman checking the mail outside his home.
Dr. Reichman, we'd like to talk to you about David Brickhouse. Your patients aren't being taken care of. What are you going to do about that? Why haven't you paid David Brickhouse? Dr. Reichman?
He heard our questions, but never turned around.
Direct Care, as promised us, does not exist. And he's not fulfilled his side of the contract as far as providing services for the fee he said he would charge.
Presently, Direct Care members are not able to see a doctor in a timely manner. Can state investigators do something? Yes. Already, some Direct Care members have contacted the State Consumer Affairs Office. It has the authority to question Brian Reichman's business practices and hold him accountable. Don Dare, 6 News.
This is how things look just outside our station here in North Knoxville tonight. The hail came down fast and hard for about 5 minutes here. And it also caused some serious damage in a neighborhood near McGee-Tyson Airport that got pounded by several rounds of severe weather. Look at this patch of grass in Louisville just covered with hail, some pieces nearly the size of golf balls. They shattered at least one car windshield and dented the tops and hoods of several other vehicles at an apartment complex parking lot.
Well, you know, we're often asked to donate to causes, but how often do we actually follow up on where our money went? And how difficult would that be if the cause you funded was in Africa? Well, last year, UT Athletics Director Mike Hamilton and his wife Beth organized the fundraiser Hope in the Dark and asked East Tennesseans to help a community in northern Kenya. 2 weeks ago, he traveled there to see that money in action, and we went with him. Tonight, we take you from East Tennessee halfway around the world. We travel more than 7,000 miles to the land some call the cradle of humanity, Kenya. Kenya is a land of extremes, beautiful and desolate, a land of rejoicing and sadness. It is modern with high-rises and rush hour traffic and bicycle teams. And it is a land forgotten by time. For many Kenyans, especially in the northern desert communities, it's a daily struggle to live. More than 7 million people, many women and children, live in extreme poverty. How far have they come?
50 kilometers from this source of water.
And how long did that take?
It's more than 10 hours.
It is into this environment that Mike Hamilton, UT's Director of Athletics, has entered. Back home, his decisions bring both support and anger. In the desert, sports seems trivial and far away. Hamilton is a board member of Bloodwater Mission, a faith-based nonprofit group headquartered in Nashville. It partners with local African organizations to bring clean water to communities. Clean water that would save thousands of lives.
There's a saying here in Kenya, they say, P and Gima, they say water is life. And people here know that very well, because if you don't have clean water, you're not able to live a healthy life.
Joining Hamilton on this trip were other board members and 2 friends from Knoxville, Jim Grubbs and Chris Kittrell, who last year donated to a fundraiser that raised money for African adoptions and for projects in Africa. Among the aims of this trip is to see how that money was spent.
Once a week. The other days
Let's talk to the pilots. Okay. We're making an impact here.
Our first stop is Torvi, a small settlement near the Ethiopian border. We're met by members of the Food for the Hungry, Bloodwater's partner in Kenya. It is a hot, arid, awful place. One of the members of our party said in all the work that they've done, this is about as remote as it gets. So there's just nothing anywhere around here. Especially water. This is the local reservoir used by both people and livestock, but not lately. It hasn't rained here in more than a year. Survival, a daily struggle.
America. From America. Yes.
Despite the difficulties, the people, especially the children, are resilient, finding joy even in simple things like a visit from strangers.
You say hello? Hello? Just shake my hand. Won't you shake my hand? Yeah.
The group is taken to the school where Knoxville money was used to build this rainwater catchment system. Nothing fancy or high-tech, but vital in holding precious water. Everyone prays that March, the beginning of the rainy season, will bring rain.
They're tough. I mean, yeah, we think we're tough, but no, this is tough, what they do day in, day out.
The group is entertained by the children of the school, many of them orphans, victims of the AIDS pandemic. For Hamilton, this is a personal mission. Last year, he and his wife Beth adopted 3 children from Ethiopia. Their youngest, Kalu, is HIV positive. She's healthy thanks to medicines readily available in America. The Hamiltons founded the Kalu Grace Foundation, which helps American families adopt African children. That association led the Hamiltons to Bloodwater Mission, which, while not directly involved in the orphan crisis, is involved in many of the causes of the crisis.
It's easy when you're here, and I think we'll see this over the next few days, to get overwhelmed, because I think the things that we're going to see will be overwhelming. But we can't be focused on the mountain. We have to be focused on the path to climb the mountain and taking one step at a time, and sometimes that means one person at a time. And if I think we'll do that, and we would do it as a society, we'd go a lot longer.
We leave Torby, but our day in the desert is not yet done.
Our aim is for this child to get education, and this has to be achieved.
We stop at another school a distance away. The headmaster explains how the drought has destroyed livestock and how education may be these children's only escape. Here the school is a borehole, a deep surface well used by people and livestock. Again, there is a Knoxville connection. The generator used to draw the water was rebuilt by Bloodwater Mission.
Now tell me again, how many animals? An average of 7,000 per day.
Per day?
Yes.
And many of these animals have traveled 2 to 3 days to get here. But the Bloodwater team notices a problem.
It's a little bit frustrating because you've got, just right here, you get clean water coming from a 700-foot deep hole that's pristine and clean, and they've actually have a different area for the animals to drink from, but because of the lack of water right now, they're letting the animals drink as well, and then they're taking their water from the same water that the animals are drinking, which leads to some of the complications we've been talking about, the sickness and illness.
While frustrating, it is not unexpected.
Patience is a significant virtue.
The Bloodwater team knows it will take time to change old habits. Now, coming up tonight at 5:30, we're going to talk live with Mike Hamilton. After more than a week of reflection, we'll ask Mike his thoughts about what he saw in Africa and why people here should care. Then tomorrow at 5, we're going to travel to the town of Marsabit, Kenya, and visit a clinic built with Knoxville dollars that is literally saving lives. We're also taught a lesson about wealth from refugees in a camp called Welcome. We've got that coming up tomorrow at 5 as our series Mission to Africa continues.
And tonight we come together, as we did throughout this campaign, representing a broad and deep cross-section of Knoxville residents.
A historic election night, Madeline Rogero becomes the first woman to win the Knoxville mayor's race.
And Becky Duncan-Massey snagging the state Senate seat that was up for grabs. We talked with her about her victory ahead.
Plus, a bomb scare temporarily put one campaign party on hold. We have details of the hoax.
Good evening, I'm Gene Patterson.
I'm Lori Tucker. Let's take a look at the numbers right now. Madeline Rogero has won with 59% of the vote. Mark Padgett captured just over 41% of the votes.
6 News reporter Erica Estep is live at the Foundry with Madeline Rogero's campaign. Erica.
Gene and Lori, things are quieting down now, but I can tell you when it was announced that Madeline Rogero was the first female mayor of the city of Knoxville, the crowd erupted in applause, and we got a chance to talk with her just after she made her acceptance speech. Obviously, your supporters, a very festive atmosphere, celebratory for sure. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Just overwhelmed by the numbers, the turnout, and by the show of support here. It's wonderful.
And winning by so much of the vote, what does that tell you, and how do you want to move forward?
Well, I think by the numbers that we had, by the size of the win, says that our message about growing the economy, working with businesses, working on neighborhoods, making a greener Knoxville, that it all really resonated with the people in Knoxville. So I think it says that our platform is something we need to move forward on.
And how did that conversation go between you and your opponent, Mark Padgett, when he gave you that phone call?
It was very cordial. He called to congratulate me and kind of reflected on what he had learned this year and the experience. So it was a nice call.
Last question, what happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow we start working on the transition.
Now, Ms. Rogero is still moving around the room, thanking her supporters here tonight. She also said she wants to work together as mayor. That means bringing all kinds of people together, including Mark Padgett. She says she hopes and looks forward to working with him in the future. Reporting live from the Foundry, Erica Eastap, 6 News.
We want to go back now to the big story of the day. 4 people convicted by a jury in the brutal torture killings of Shannon Christian and Chris Newsom will get a new trial because of a judge's misconduct. It was a shocking ruling today delivered by an emotional and often angry judge, John Kerry Blackwood. 6 News is covering this story tonight from every angle for you. We start with 6 News reporter Gene Patterson. He was in court today for the hearing. He joins us now live from the City County building with the very latest. And Gene, this was a very emotional day for so many people.
Oh, no question about it. Very emotional for the court system, for the victims' families, for everybody associated with anything going on here legally in Knox County. It was about sex, lies, and drug addiction. That was the state of the world for Richard Baumgartner back at the time when he was presiding over the 4 murder trials that led to convictions in the Christian Newsom murders. But Judge Kerry deciding after looking at the record and the TBI file investigation that number 1, all 4 of those guilty verdicts would be vacated. He said there's just no way around it based on what he saw. Secondly, in his ruling, he read aloud a long list of indiscretions that bordered on criminal activity, including unethical issues, even involving sex in the judge's chambers. So let's bring in Hannah Kim to talk more about what went on today in court and what led up to Judge Blackwood's ruling.
That's right. Well, Gene, as you know, the 1,200-page TBI report was so explosive that it led Judge John Kerry Blackwood to give all 4 defendants a new trial. Today, Blackwood called ex-Judge Richard Baumgartner's behavior evil. TBI files read aloud for the first time today indicate Richard Baumgartner could have been high on the bench during the trials.
Judge Baumgartner during that time was taking up to 30 hydrocodones a day while he was trying Mr. Davis.
Judge John Kerry Blackwood called out a laundry list of pain pills and corruption against Baumgartner.
He was doctor shop.
Blackwood also fumed that his former colleague hit the streets getting pills from a convicted felon in his own court.
Can we have any trust in a system that's running like that?
A system that was also tainted by sex. During one of the trials, Baumgartner would visit St. Mary's Hospital sometimes multiple times during the day to visit this woman, Dina Castleman. Castleman was a former drug addict in his court. Hospital employees told investigators Castleman would be high after Baumgartner's visits. Castleman also told TBI she had sexual affairs with Baumgartner in his chamber several times. Blackwood said at one point in the last trial against Vanessa Coleman, Baumgartner puts his head down, prompting his secretary to send this note.
Sit up or get off the bench. You're disrespecting the families.
Many say now it's clear that Baumgartner has done more than disrespect the family, his actions causing an extraordinary second chance for these defendants who were convicted up until today. The victims' families cried after that ruling. They stormed out of the courtroom. But as you heard, Gene, Judge Blackwood said, look, what would you do? What if your child or anybody, any of your loved ones were being tried by an intoxicated judge?
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Hannah. Speaking of the family's reaction, we've got that as well. Let's bring in Erica Eastep, who talked with both Gary and Dina Christian and Mary and Hugh Newsom.
That's right, Gene. I talked to them as soon as they came out of court. Now, they told me that they got a sick feeling in their gut well before this morning. They were afraid that this could happen. That doesn't mean that they liked it one bit, and boy, have they changed their opinions of Judge Richard Baumgartner. Just take a listen.
I was shocked. It was unbelievable. It was a lot worse than what I had thought. We've wasted 4 years of our lives because of what he did.
Chris Newsom's parents reacting to their son's killers getting new trials because the judge was popping pills while trying to preside over the double murder cases.
I feel like our kids have not received justice yet. after 5 years.
Both families dread the nightmare of 4 new trials.
I don't see any reason why we should have to go through this again.
The victims' families do agree Judge Blackwood was left with little choice, faced with the disturbing details of Judge Baumgartner's secret life of drug addiction. But Gary Christian says Blackwood's comment about detesting public humiliation really hit a nerve.
I watched my family and my friends sit through 4 trials. Public humiliation. My daughter would be mortified if she was still with us with the pictures that you and the public saw of her and what they did to her.
Very emotional for those families, Gene. No one can imagine what they have gone through, and to think about going through it again. They told me 4 years of their life wasted because they say of what Judge Baumgartner did. And we'll hear more about who they blame coming up tonight at 6.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric. And again, very, as you mentioned, Kristen, a very emotional day. But this case, this decision, this ruling by Judge Blackwood has an impact that goes beyond just these 4 murder trials in the Christian Newsom case. Judge Blackwood saying that Judge Baumgartner, former Judge Baumgartner, was actually impaired as far back as 2008, and perhaps all those cases, and I understand there may be as many as 1,000 or more, could be impacted by today's ruling.
One of the main purposes of this trip to Haiti was to see construction on the new secondary school started. A groundbreaking ceremony was held to get the project underway.
More humbled to be able to provide the funds to build this College de Saint-Michel for Bucankare.
Zenergy, a Knoxville-based coal company, provided the money to build the first phase of the school, close to $500,000.
We felt like this would be a long-term benefit to this community and help the young people build this community up so that it can fulfill its potential.
If the Lord does not watch over the city, in vain does the watchman keep vigil.
Father David Boatner from Sacred Heart Cathedral in Knoxville and Father Deportel from Bucankare blessed the land. Yay! Then immediately construction began on the foundation of the new school.
Just a great day. It's a blessing that God has brought to us through the Zenergy company and the money that they've been able to make available for this project.
The engineer responsible for the secondary school says it should be complete within 6 months. This first phase of the building will hold up to 500 students. When they get the money for all the phases, it has the potential to hold 1,500 students.
I would be very honored to be able to come back here when the school is opened and watch these students walk through and shake every one of them's hand as they start their learning in this new school.
In Bucankare, Haiti, Josh All, 6 News.
Hundreds of people are killed in the worst tornado outbreak in decades.
I don't know if I've ever seen in my life anything as destructive and as tragic.
Here in Tennessee, the death toll continues to climb as the scope of the damage unfolds. From destroyed homes to widespread hail damage, we're covering every angle right now on 6 News at 5.
Live from the news station, WATE-TV Knoxville, this is 6 News at 5.
Violent weather stretches across the southeast in what is being called the worst tornado outbreak since 1974.
Now, Tennessee is right in the middle of it, with the death toll just rising now to more than 30 people.
7 of those deaths are in Greene County, and that is where 6 News anchor Kristen Farley is covering this story live for us tonight.
We are right here in Camp Creek in the heart of all of the devastation here in Greene County. The death toll continuing to rise. Now 7 people confirmed dead in this area from the twister that moved through this area. Within just the past hour, the National Weather Service confirming to 6 News this was in fact an EF2 tornado that moved through this area. Take a look at some of the damage here behind me. I want to show you this barn. 24 hours ago, that was a standing, functioning barn here in Greene County. As we take a
look up, you can see some of the tree damage here in this area, as well as some of the power line damage. You can see power lines down all across this community. In fact, not a lot of people being allowed in this area because of all of the damage. Now, the National Weather Service saying they look at things like this, like the downed trees, like the power lines, to actually determine the strength of the tornado. They were telling me that the path of the tornado likely went this way through this community, but most of the damage is actually falling in this way. That's one of the indicators that this was in fact a tornado, an EF2 tornado, again declared here in Greene County. Now, what I am showing you behind me, this is really just a small glimpse of the damage here in this community. 6 News reporter Mona Nair has been out all afternoon, and you have seen so many pockets of this community and talked to so many people, and I know remarkable stories of survival.
Yeah, Kristen, you know, even when you look around right now, you can see debris strewn everywhere. Not only were a lot of these homes flattened, but the debris strewn for miles, and people left to pick up the pieces. We spoke to some of them.
All of a sudden, a big gust of wind came, and we all came in, and my son said, it's here, and we ran to the center hallway, and we covered each other. And
Terry Worley says she hung on tight to her husband and son as the roof of their home blew off and the walls caved in.
So I opened the bathroom door and looked, and everything was caved in, so we broke out the bathroom window and just went out it.
Angela Norton says she convinced her grandma and grandpa to get out of their home in the nick of time. Their entire house flattened to pieces.
He wasn't going to go. He didn't think that anything was going to happen because we always get bad wind out here. And I basically drug him out.
And then right after that,
it just went.
She says people in the homes on both sides of them were killed.
There was 2 that was in the bed, and they said it killed them. And then there was one up here, they said it killed.
With large trees uprooted and power lines down, many here haven't ventured far from their destroyed homes since it happened. Norton and Worley say picking up the pieces will be tough, but nothing compared to what people who lost loved ones are going through.
It would have probably killed my papa and mama too, so.
Oh, and I feel so bad. There's so many people that lost their lives. This is material. You can't replace a life. That's a shame. It's a shame.
Now, apart from these fatalities, the Sheriff's Office is also going out and looking for missing people. What they're doing, Kristen, is that they're working with these families. They're going out to the places where these missing people may be and trying to help search for them.
But again, they really cannot put a figure on how many people could be missing tonight.
No, they say it's hard to say.
Just devastating. All right, Mona, thank you so very much. We also talked to a chaplain earlier today from Murrow Metro in Knoxville who's here in the area. And while he didn't want to go on camera, he said the devastation here and the stories here, just nothing like he has ever seen before throughout his career. Again, 7 people confirmed dead here in Greene County. That number, unfortunately, could rise. We do want to take a look. We have 34 fatalities throughout our state because of this storm system that moved through overnight. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Hamilton County, 9 fatalities. Bradley County, also 9. Bledsoe, 4 people killed there. Johnson County, 2 people. Sequatchie and Washington, 1 person in each county killed by these storms. Now, 6 News reporter Erica Estep was down in Bradley County today. Again, one of the areas hurt badly and damaged homes, buildings, lost lives in that area. She joins us now live in the newsroom with more. Erica?
That's right, Kristen. We actually just got back into the 6 newsroom, and it's extremely hard to put into words what we saw. We only got a chance to look at 3 neighborhoods, and there were still some blocked off to anyone who doesn't live there or isn't emergency personnel. But we did see homes that have been leveled. One entire neighborhood no longer exists. Power poles snapped in half, massive trees ripped up, roots and all, then tossed onto homes and into roadways. We spoke with several people trying to pick up the pieces and caught up with Governor Haslam, who's visiting with homeowners and assessing damage.
That's what I say, I couldn't talk. Seemed like I've lived here all my life. Just over a year ago, I lost my wife. We had married 40 years. And it's seemed like everything just keep piling on.
We'll fix all the physical damage. You know, you have that many, 33 families that have had fatalities. It's tragic, including multiple deaths out of some families.
And again, that death toll now at 34 people. And Governor Haslam told me that he spoke with President Obama just this morning and that he has been assured that federal assistance is on the way. When he left Cleveland, he was heading to Chattanooga and then working his way back west. We'll show you more of the damage from Bradley County coming up tonight at 6. For now, live in the newsroom, Erica Estep, 6 News.
All right, thanks, Erica. The images and stories coming out of this storm just absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. Very difficult to be here in this community tonight and hearing these people and how they managed to live through the storms from last night. Of course, folks to the south actually had it a lot worse than we did here in Tennessee. In Alabama, the highest death toll from the storm reported from that area. Apparently more than 100 people, I believe that number above 150, declared dead in Alabama. We are going to take you there coming up a little bit later in this newscast. But right now, we do want to check in with 6 News Chief Meteorologist Matt Hinken. He is live at the National Weather Service office in Morristown. Matt?
Well, thank you, Kristen. We just got confirmation up here in Morristown that the Greene County preliminary documentation shows about an EF2 tornado there, up to 135 mile-an-hour winds. Down in Chattanooga, up to 100 mile-an-hour winds. 190 would make it an EF4, and they're still going to be analyzing the storm data for the next few days, trying to find out how many tornadoes came through East Tennessee. But this is the command center. This is where tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings are issued for East Tennessee. It covers 40 counties, 3 states, including right here in the Knoxville area, should I say back home in the Knoxville area, including Hamblen County here in Morristown. So look at the preliminary data that we have for you. Yesterday, 71 tornado warnings were issued for East Tennessee. Severe thunderstorm warnings, 25. Flood warnings, 2. Flash flood warnings, 4. A total of 102 warnings. And on top of that, 111 special weather statements. So it has been an active night, active day, and they were all on hands here. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to give you a little idea of how warnings are issued and what the process is and what's involved there and how we get the information to relay to you at home. But in the short term, rest assured, it is going to be a much calmer night. As a matter of fact, if you check on Storm Tracker 6, which actually uses the same radar data they use here in Morristown at the Weather Service, it'll show that we have dry conditions in and around the area, and we expect that to be the case tonight. As a matter of fact, unusually cool air after mid-80s yesterday, 47 tonight with just a few clouds around, so we'll call it comfortably cool and tranquil, and we'll welcome the tranquility, won't we? All right, the forecast does look decent going into the weekend. We'll have a lot more live from Morristown in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Matt. Of course, we will be checking in with Matt Hinken throughout the evening as we continue our extended storm coverage here. We also have much more coming up tonight at 5:30 and 6 o'clock as we go back down to Bradley County as well as DeKalb County, an area hit specifically hard by these storms overnight. School buildings there, an adult school building destroyed last night by the winds that hit that area. And, of course, we're going to check back in with 6 News reporter Mona Nair here in Greene County as volunteers come out not just to help the families devastated, but also their pets and other people here in this area needing special services. We will have much more on that coming up tonight at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. Right now, we want to send it back to Gene.
All right, thank you very much, Kristen. Of course, it is nothing compared to loss of life and destroyed homes, but chances are you may be one of the many people who are dealing with hail damage tonight. Now, these are just some of the pictures of those huge hailstones from the storm that knocked out windshields, pockmarked cars, and shattered windows in homes. New tonight, 6 News reporter Hannah Kim visited South Knoxville, one of the areas that saw the most hail.
The burst of hail was deafening, even more destructive.
My daughter, who's 10, was frightened and she was crying.
Along Lake Bluff Court, evidence of Mother Nature's force.
You can see the back siding on the house where there's damage practically on the entire backside there.
Luckily for this homeowner, not much damage to his house, but you can see what happened to his patio table right here. Take a look at this. This is the actual hail that fell last night. Others took snapshots of golf ball size hail littering their front yard. Tonight it's all melted away, but not before leaving behind shattered windows, damaged homes and cars.
You could hear the windows cracking from inside the house because it was hitting so hard.
Christy Owens will have to say goodbye to her Mazda for a few days.
As you can see, like the whole back windshield is falling in.
She's parked it at Joe Newbert's Collision Center, where 40 hail-dented cars were already waiting in line this morning.
They just keep coming. The wreckers are bringing them in. Phones rung off the hook.
The shop can barely keep up. Car after car needing extensive repair. We are live here at Lake Bluff Court in South Knoxville. Just one area hit really, really hard. Take a look at this car. You can see the dent on this one. And over here, when I pan the camera, you can see even more damage. And this is just one family. So you can imagine so much loss, so much destruction just on this street. Also, we checked with businesses across town. Many car dealerships along Kingston Pike telling me that many of their vehicles have been damaged. Meanwhile, car rental companies have been way busy. Enterprise, many branches of Enterprise selling out of cars. We're live in South Knoxville. Hannah Kim, 6 News.
All right, Hannah, thank you very much. The Knoxville Police Department was not spared from all this. They are also dealing with hail damage. At least 26 of their Crown Vics damaged, some needing new windshields, others just have surface damage.
Well, 2 school systems closed today because of damage, and power outages say they will remain closed. Cocke County and Monroe County schools closed again tomorrow. And for the latest updates on school closings, just go to our website, WATE.com. Now, I pulled up the KUB website. KUB, along with other area utility companies, has been working since Monday's first round of severe weather to restore power to homes and businesses. You may recall at one point on Monday, 44,000 homes were without power. Let's take a look at the power outage map right now, and just about 3,000 people are without power at this point. And that is a combination of all this week's storms. As you can see there, the majority of power outages remain in South Knoxville. Also, more than half of Fort Loudon electric customers were without power last night. That's about 19,000 people. Crews are working round the clock to get the power back on to those folks as well.
Well, some of that hail damage in South Knoxville also forcing a library to close. The library says the South Knoxville branch on the 4500 block of Chapman Highway will be closed indefinitely. Yesterday's storms causing significant damage to the roof there and some of the books. Cleaning crews were on hand today to begin the long cleanup process. The library says the damage they've seen is typical of what's being reported in nearby neighborhoods.
Hail damage to the roof, some water got into the building. Clearly there's a significant amount of damage. We're doing the best we can to protect the collection. So it's, you know, it's what a lot of people in this area have suffered. We're right there with everyone else.
The library says the books will be placed in storage until the building's been repaired and that the collection will not be split up. Several volunteers were also on hand at the UT Botanical Gardens today to help clean up damage there. At least a dozen trees were destroyed or uprooted. The damage from the storms on Monday and Wednesday night. In addition to downed trees, the Rose Garden was damaged and other plants were destroyed.
Still to come tonight, we have just learned a local Air Force pilot has been killed overseas, plus massive damage across the southeast. Coming up, we'll take you to Alabama, where officials say more than 160 people are dead following tornadoes there yesterday. Plus a warning for consumers tonight. Find out how some con artists could try to take advantage of storm victims and what you can do to protect yourself. We'll be back.
New tonight, friends and family remembering an East Tennessee soldier killed this week in Afghanistan. Friends say Air Force pilot Frank Bryant Jr. died along with 7 other Americans after a soldier in the Afghani army opened fire during a meeting. Bryant graduated from Carnes High School in 1991. The military has not yet released a statement regarding his death.
Welcome back to the National Weather Service Forecast Office here in Morristown, Tennessee. Derek's one of the meteorologists here. He's working on the storm reports from yesterday, and they'll be working on this for several days as we've got a lot of damage to analyze around East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia and over toward the mountains. And good news is it's a much calmer situation around the area tonight. Don't have to worry about any severe weather. Dry conditions and temperatures that are in the mid-60s after the mid-80s yesterday afternoon. So it feels much better, looks much better, and is much better. 57 over Gatlinburg right now. Forecast at a glance takes us down to about 63 at 8 o'clock tonight. Should be about 47, a cool start tomorrow morning, and by tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock, probably like 70 degrees. So it's going to be beautiful around East Tennessee. All right, the few clouds that you have around the area now continue to move out, and 6 timeline does have dry conditions by tomorrow morning at 7. And by the time we get to the midday and to the afternoon, you may notice a few thin clouds, but other than that, I think we're just going to be in great shape. That's the noon hour. There's 3 o'clock as the kids head home. And as we go to midnight, clear skies. Another cool one will start Saturday morning, more than likely in the mid-40s. Tonight, though, low to mid-40s after the 80s. A nice, refreshing start to your Friday morning. And for your Friday afternoon, plan on a high near 71 degrees with a west breeze. A little breezy, but we can handle that. It'll be dry. Notice the sun's up at 6:46. Tranquil weekend ahead, yes, near 80 by Sunday. There will be a chance for a few showers and scattered storms on Monday, not like we saw yesterday. They should wrap up and cool down again by Tuesday and Wednesday. Hope you'll join us at 5:30. We're going to talk with some of the meteorologists here about how the process of putting a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning out and what goes into that. We'll see you then.
All right, Matt, and more now on the record-setting tornado season that is causing massive destruction across the South. Hundreds are dead in these 6 states, and even more are injured. ABC's John Hendren is in one of the hardest hit areas.
In Tuscaloosa, many streets are impassable, the houses uninhabitable, the water undrinkable, and the devastation unimaginable. Home to the University of Alabama, the city of 93,000 took a major blow from a mile-wide tornado.
We are dealing with an overwhelming situation in terms of its impact on city resources. We are critically short of men, materials, and equipment.
James Dixon was in his house when a tornado barreled through his neighborhood. He and his girlfriend survived, but as for their home, it didn't make it.
Hell. That's exactly what it is. I've been through hell. No other way to describe it.
In neighboring Georgia, more scenes of devastation. Houses ripped apart, businesses flattened, and more lives lost. Truck driver Tom Rose was in his tractor trailer in Ringgold, northwest of Atlanta, when the tornado hit.
I knew I was in deep trouble when I saw the building coming apart across the highway here. I didn't realize anything until then. I told the wife, I says, I got to go. She goes, why? I says, tornado.
In Spalding, Georgia, the twister tore apart the PV family home, leaving an empty space where 13-year-old Kylie was sleeping. The storm pulled her and her bed out of the house. But luckily for Kylie and her relieved family, the girl is fine.
It must have pulled her bed out the wall with it. And when I ran through the door, she was barely talking.
Not a house was left standing in this area of Tuscaloosa. The wind tossed cars about like kites and tossed the belongings of people all across Alabama. John Hendren, ABC News, Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Damaging storms tend to bring out the best and sometimes the worst in people, especially those fly-by-night operators who are called storm chasers by consumer advocates. The head of the local Better Business Bureau talked with 6 on Your Side reporter Don Dare about potential scams.
These are people who literally will walk up to your door and tell you, you obviously have damage, and tell you that they want to negotiate with your insurance company, want you to sign something immediately.
How can you spot an unscrupulous storm chaser?
Generally, they are people who may not be from the area, are not licensed, are not insured. You need to ask for credentials. If they don't have credentials, and look for license plates. If they have out-of-state license plates, out-of-county license plates perhaps, then beware of that. Ask to see their driver's license. That's another good way to find out where they're actually from.
Now, the Tennessee Attorney General's office has put out a warning today about possibility of scams. Some of the door-to-door people you need to watch out for are roofers and those who want to cut and remove your trees. To be on the safe side, call a local company first. And you may have to wait, but you won't be sorry. Local attorneys are offering their services to low-income storm victims. Legal Aid of East Tennessee says they will help eligible families with a wide range of civil legal assistance, including reviews of contracts for repairs and access to public benefits. To contact Legal Aid of East Tennessee, go to our website, WATE.com.
We will be right back with a look at what we're working on for 6 News at 5:30 tonight, but still to come here at 5 with less than a day until the royal wedding. It's time to practice. The latest from London in just a few minutes.
It is now less than a day before Kate Middleton and Prince William's big day, and today the final preparations were taking place for the historic ceremony. Kate Middleton, along with her bridesmaids and the best man, Prince Harry, rehearsing one more time at Westminster Abbey. Nearly 2,000 guests have been invited, but tens of thousands more are expected to line the streets. Both Prince William and Kate will spend the evening of their weddings with their families. And that's it for 6 News at 5. Let's send things over to Lori to see what's coming up at 5:30.
All right, Gene, and coming up in just 2 minutes, the Red Cross back in action, helping storm victims in our area. Find out how you can also help. Plus, more on this record-setting outbreak, including why yesterday's conditions made the perfect recipe for deadly tornadoes. 6 News at 5:30 is next.